Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the DC Capstone Report. It's great to be back with you on another week of podcast on Alabama football. Coming out with a great victory against the Missouri Tigers, 34-0 for homecoming right here at Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Well, I want to thank Lance Shores. It was great to see Lance at the game. He did some great photos. If you haven't checked out Lance's photos from homecoming, you need to. Go to RollTideBama.com, FreelancePictures.com. We even shared it on the DC Capstone Report page. But, man, he has some wonderful photos, wonderful pictures up there of the alumni, of the band, of the cheerleaders, just the Crimsonettes. Great opportunity. I always love what Lance does with his photos. In my opinion, and I may be biased, but Lance is one of the best photographers I've ever come across, and one of the best sports and wildlife photographers in the state of Alabama, maybe in the Southeast. So if you get a chance to go look at Lance's pictures, please do so at RollTideBama.com and FreelancePictures.com. That's some of our sponsors that help us keep this podcast up and going. Of course, I couldn't do it without Lance Shores in the studio producing and making everything work each and every week. And I'd like to thank my other sponsor, Karen Cottingham Realtor, right here in Tuscaloosa with the Williams Group at Keller Williams. For all your real estate needs, contact Karen. We've got a button on our webpage. You can go to dccapstonereport.com, press on that button for Karen, and you can go right to her inventory page. You can see all the listings that she can help you with right here in Alabama, all across the state of Alabama. For all your real estate needs, contact Karen Cottingham at 205-887-4008 and tell her you heard about it here on the DC Capstone Report. Well, this week is bye week, so in the first segment, we're going to review the game against the Missouri Tigers. In the second segment, we're going to talk about our players of the game. And in the third and final segment, we're going to talk about bye week preparation as we go into this bye week before the LSU game.
You're listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is featured each Tuesday morning on the Martin Houston Show at Tide 100.9. You can listen live at Tide100.9.com.
Well, welcome back to the DC Capstone Report. Here on the first segment, we're going to review the game against the Missouri Tigers. Well, it was homecoming here at the Capstone, and I got to go to the game. It was a privilege to go as an alumni of the University of Alabama, both in undergraduate and graduate school. It's great that I get to go back and see some of the older people that graduated when I did back in the 80s, and it was just a great time for all the alumni to come back together. The crowd was big. It was mini outside. The quad was full of people. One thing I noticed walking around before the game was there was a lot of Missouri fans here, and they've traveled well. So my hat's off to all the Missouri fans that traveled to the game. And the ones I spoke with were very nice, very complimentary of our campus and of the facilities. But they were very confident as well in that they were going to win the game. They felt like coming in here they were going to win the game. They were excited that the quarterback was going to play, and they were going to have a chance to win the game. Now, Missouri had only had one loss prior to coming here to Alabama, so I understood their confidence. And Alabama had not played great, so I understood that confidence, and I didn't hold that against them. But when we got into this game, it looked like that Alabama was playing at a different level on defense. That's what I noticed from the very beginning. So I think we played really, really good on defense. And we did something that I have not seen us do in the last three games, really since the Georgia game. We came out and we played with power and passion on defense. Power and passion. I've spoke about it several times here, folks, and if you know what I'm talking about, you could see the edge that they played with. They played with power and they played with passion. And when I use those words together, I think there's another word out there when you put those two words together. Some teams play with power, but they don't play with passion. Some teams play with passion, but they don't have the power. But when you have the power and the passion working together, I believe that's intensity. The words. So I believe this defense played with intensity. They ramped it up. They were flying to the ball. They were running all across. They were running through the tackles. They were helping each other. They were actually swarming to the ball. And I think they really did a good job in this game. The quarterback of Missouri is really good about playing, picking his opportunities to pick you apart with different pass plays and working in the runs as well. He was slow in this game. It was easy to see that he was not 100%, but I give him an A for effort. He came out and tried to play. But it was actually hitting his hand on one of the plays that really got him out of the game. It wasn't his ankle as much as his hand. His throwing hand, one time was hit on when we tackled him outside the box, and then one time he hit it on the top of his own player's helmet, his tackle's helmet, and that's what really got him out of the game and playing. But the defense really did a good job when either quarterback was in the game. And the number one thing that we said last week that they had to do was stop the run. And in the first half, they stopped the run, and really we stopped the pass. They really couldn't throw the ball. Either quarterback could really throw the ball. They only had 72 passing yards and 3 interceptions. When the second-string quarterback came in, Drew Pine, we really were able to really do a good job of intercepting the ball and get 3 takeaways. So when you look at this defense overall, I thought we did a good job on stopping the run early. The rushing yards, they had 167 rushing yards. But that only averaged out to like 3.8 yards per play. Alabama, on the other hand, had 7.7 yards per play. So it appeared to me that our defense played a well-rounded game, and the only time we really gave up a long drive was when our second and third string team was in there. And I found it to be so really, I think, confidence building for this defense that they watched on the sideline. The majority of the first team watched from the sideline as Missouri drove the ball down the field. But then on a 4th down play at the goal line, they got our first stringers back in there. Our goal line defense came in, and they had enough power, enough passion, and enough pride to stop them on 4th down, not let them score to preserve the shutout. So I think overall, this is a really, really good defensive production, and I hope it bleeds over to the next game against LSU in 2 weeks, because we're really going to need that kind of power, passion, intensity, and pride to play against LSU. And so I really believe we made some strides in the defense. Our coverages seem to be better. Our seem to be a little more healthy, and I believe that'll help us having a bye week off as well. So overall, very impressed with the way our defense put us in positions, especially with the 3 takeaways. And also very impressed with how some of the players stepped up and filled some positions that we needed to be filled on defense. And we got some players that were injured back, and that showed. But I think the most overall impressive I was the passion and the power, the intensity that we played with on defense. I think if we can do that in games, the 4 remaining games we have, we can run the table and finish the season 10-2 and really put it on our defense to really hold the other team. And if we can do that, we've got a good enough offense to score some points as we did in this game and beating this team that we did, Missouri, which was a really good team. Missouri's 6-2, folks. They've only lost 2 games, so they're no pushover. We did a good job of holding them to 0 points. Well, on offense, I think we did some good things. We were able to establish the run. We had 271 yards rushing. For the first time in a while, we had more rushing yards than we had passing yards, so I think that's an improvement. It seemed like we did a good job in the second half of taking advantage of what they had. We kind of made some adjustments. I thought it was great to see some adjustments that was made. That was good. Some of the things that weren't good on offense was I still think Jalen Milroe is playing tentative. I think he threw the ball a couple of times and had wide open receivers and was unable to throw the ball on point. Not sure what's going on there. And then offensive line did not play well at times. Of course, I said Missouri's no pushover. They have the 10th best defense in rushing edge rushers, much like South Carolina had. And they were able to take advantage of our tackles sometime. I think Elijah Pritchett and on the other side, the left tackle gave up. Caden Proctor gave up some whiffs that allowed us to sack our quarterback. But when Jalen Milroe was sacked, he protected the football, didn't have any fumbles, and when he threw the ball, he didn't have no interceptions as well. So that was good. Our penalties were still not great. I think we had 85 yards in penalties. We shouldn't be giving up that many yards in penalties. I think we had some penalties at inopportune times, but I'm not sure that this game was officiated very well. I'm not sure which crew this was, but it wasn't the best officiating I've seen. Been atrocious in the SEC anyway this year, but I don't think this was a very good officiated game on either side. So I'm not sure where those penalties on the other side of the ball, Missouri had 5 penalties for 55 yards. So overall, I think that there's something going on with the offense. And I think the third portion was our third down efficiency. We were 0 for 5 on third downs in the first half. And we ended up 2 for 9. And so we didn't do a good job on third down of staying on the field. And I'm not sure what happened, but I believe some adjustments were made. And I'm not sure why Jalen Milroe wasn't taking advantage of it in the first half. It looked like he was staying in the pocket and refusing to run when he had open lanes to run. And I believe we're best when Jalen Milroe is playing loose and can run the ball when he's trying to pass the ball. I think he runs better when we're on a passing situation and when the players on the defense are going and covering the receivers. When we have call runs, he runs well, but I think he gains the best yards and most explosive plays when we're in a passing down. It breaks down, he runs. But this time he seemed to stay in the pocket most of the first half. In the second half, if you notice, there were some adjustments made, and he broke down when the play broke down. He ran, and he did a good job of making some big plays in the second half of his legs. I believe we're going to need that in the game coming up against LSU, and I hope that we work on that over the bye week to get us in a position. But overall, our offense did what it took to win. Scored 34 points. We were 2 for 2 on field goals. That was good to see. Graham Nicholson hitting 2 field goals. But it wasn't good to see how we weren't able to keep extending plays on third down. We were 0 for 5 in the first half, and I don't think it's acceptable for Alabama offense. We need to do better than that. But we did good enough to win the game. I'm not pleased, but I think it's a game that we can learn from and we can grow from during this bye week to set us up to be better offensively down the road. Well, welcome back to the second segment here in the DC Capstone Report. I'm glad you're all here listening to us. Thank you for checking us out. We are nothing without those that are listening to us. I learned last week we had over 2,500 plays, different media on Spotify, on YouTube, and on Facebook. Thank you for tuning in, listening to our podcast. We really, really appreciate it. Here on the second segment, we're going to talk about our players of the game. Well, let's go to our offensive players of the game first, and I don't think it's any shock to anyone out there. Our offense did such a good job running the ball that my 2 offensive players of the game are our running backs. Number 22, Justice Haynes. He had 8 carries for 79 yards for a 9.9 yard average, almost a 10-yard average every time he touched the ball. And he had that one signature punishing run where he scored the touchdown, where he hit head-to-head with the safety and came up and powered through and went on and scored the touchdown. So he had 8 carries for 79 yards. Did a really good job. I think out of the backfield as a safety valve, he had one catch. But he also took the linebacker several times to the wide field and gave Jalen Milroe an opportunity to run down up the middle. So I think he was really good in the passing game as well. He did a pretty good job blocking. And then on Jamarian Miller, number 26. I think Jamarian Miller did a great job in this game. He had 11 carries for 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. So 3 of our touchdowns scored by our running backs, and my offensive players of the game are Justice Haynes and Jamarian Miller. I would love to see this be a building game for these two so that they're down the road in these next 4 games, especially against LSU, that we're able to establish the run. And if we can establish the run, I heard Coach talk about it this week, when you run the ball well, you set your quarterback up for great play. And that's what we do. If we can run the ball well, it takes the pressure off Jalen Milroe, gives him opportunities in the passing game. So my 2 offensive players of the game are Justice Haynes and Jam Miller. Well, on defense, when I talk about it, there's many people that could be picked as defensive players of the game, but I picked the 2 that I thought I saw the most from, and that is number 11, Jihad Campbell, middle linebacker. He had 4 tackles, 4 assists, and a sack, and played perfectly the flea flicker. You couldn't play that any better. I believe we were watching for flea flickers and we were watching for shovel passes in this game. And I believe Jihad Campbell on that sack that he had of Brady Cook, it was the best way you could possibly play the flea flicker. And he played with power, he played with passion, ran through the tackle, and it was a picture-perfect tackle, did a great job. So Jihad Campbell is one of my defense players of the game. My other defensive players of the game, I told you a lot of players stepped up in the secondary, and nobody stepped up any better than Brayson Hubbard, number 18, a sophomore. He had 4 tackles and 3 assists and 1 interception filling in for the injured Keon Sabb as a safety. Hadn't gotten a lot of playing time. Came in, played pretty much this whole entire game, and did a fantastic job at safety. He was able to cover several times. They tried to match up their best wide receiver, Luther Burden, on him, and he covered him perfectly. Luther Burden didn't get any catches against Brayson Hubbard in this game. Did a great job of not letting the mismatch take effect. So just so proud of him stepping up and filling in for the injured Keon Sabb. So my defensive players of the game are Jihad Campbell and Brayson Hubbard. So just to recap, offensive players of the game, Justice Haynes and Jam Miller. And defensive players of the game, Jihad Campbell and Brayson Hubbard. Well, welcome back to the DC Capstone Report. Again, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in each and every week for our podcast on Alabama football. I want to thank again Lance Shores back in the studio who is producing this for us each week. Go out and look at his other sites, RollTideBama.com, FreelancePictures.com for some great Alabama football content and some great pictures of homecoming. And I always want to thank our sponsor, Karen Cottingham, right here in Tuscaloosa, a realtor with the Williams Group at Keller Williams for all your real estate needs. That's Karen Cottingham, 205-887-4008. Well, here on the third and final segment, we're going to take a look at bye week preparation. That's right, we get a bye week. This year we've had 2 bye weeks, and this year we get a bye week going into the LSU game, which is on the road in 2 weeks at Baton Rouge. The bye week couldn't come at a better time for this team. The number one thing I think that this team needs to do is to get healthy. We've got some players that are playing through injuries. I've said all along that I think Jalen Milroe is nicked up a little bit in his shoulder because of the way he's throwing the ball and because he's hesitant to run the ball. So I know that people say I'm wrong in that. Even Jalen Milroe has come out and said he's not injured, but at this day and time, in this time of the season, every player is nicked up and injured. So those types of little nicks and hurts and pains can heal up during a bye week. So I think it's good that we got a great training staff, we got a great facilities, and I think we ought to use all of our facilities to the extent this week on our players, trying to get them healthy. So there's some players I think that come back. It looks like Keon Sabb is out for the year. I think Cole Adams might be with a lower leg injury that he suffered in this game. But other than that, I believe everybody could come back and play. It looks like all of our defensive backs played a little bit in this game. I even saw Daniel Hill come back and play in the little mop-up action on for the offense. And it looked like Quay Russaw is back at full speed. So this will give us an opportunity to get all of our players healthy. So I think the number one objective on this bye week is get healthy, going into Baton Rouge with the most healthiest team that we've had all year. Our second thing is I think we need to work on our third down offensive efficiency. It's been a glaring thing in our past few games where we can't keep extending the plays and we have to punt. I believe that we need to work on our third down offensive efficiency and see what that happens. And I believe we're going to take a look at our from our coaches all the way down to our execution. So it's from the play calling all the way through the execution. And that means the offensive line has got to look at themselves, do a inspection of what they're doing. It looks like our coaches have to call the right plays, put us right in the right positions. And we got to avoid penalties to put us in long third down opportunities. So there's a lot that goes into this third down efficiency. So we got to look at all this bye week, look closely at our offensive line. What can we do to help our offensive line execute better? Look closely at our play calling. Are we putting our players in the right position to make them be successful? And can we keep from shooting ourselves in the foot and putting us behind the sticks so we have long third downs? And then finally, execution. Can the offense run the play and execute in the right way? So I think that's something we got to work on. And I believe third and finally, one thing we need to work on is we need to have a good game plan for a QB run game. If you watched any of that Texas A&M LSU game, it turned on the fact that they brought in a quarterback that can run the ball. And I believe that LSU is not built to stop the QB run. And I really believe that we've got to work that into our game plan against them And I'm talking about the play of the run pass option where the quarterback pulls the ball and runs it. And also when a play breaks down, that the quarterback runs out of those plays, and people know when a breakdown play that he's going to run, you're blocking downfield. So if we can do that, I believe we can really go into LSU week prepared to take advantage of what their defense gives us. And I think LSU is a good team, but not a great team this year. They give us opportunities to beat them in Baton Rouge. And I think if we get healthy, if we work on our third down offense efficiency, on all that facets of the offense, and if we work on our QB run game and working it in, I think that we're going to have a good offensive game plan for them. On defense, we need to keep up the momentum and keep up the power, the passion, and the intensity, and play like that against LSU. If we play the defensive intensity that we did in the Missouri game at LSU, we'll do a good job. We just don't need the bye week to dampen that in any. We just need to keep on keeping on defense. Well, that's it for this week for the DC Capstone Report. Thank you all for tuning in. Next week we'll have a podcast after the bye week as we preview the upcoming game in 2 weeks against the LSU Tigers. Until then, this is DC with the DC Capstone Report signing off with a big Roll Tide.